Can't even focus anymore.
Hello and welcome to, it's not the Supersets vlog, we are shooting the GS300 build episode 2 today. So we're back up in Lithgow, work on the car. We're standing underneath, funnily enough, a Ferrari 314, and the reason we are is because I was taking an under tray off this car the other day and it was stuck and I was pulling it and it became unstuck very fast, let's put it that way. So that's why I've got a massive growth on my nose. I'm looking forward to maybe 2 black eyes rolling in soon. But yeah, so this week I've been contacted by a Ferrari, but that, as sick as it is not why we're here. So let's go to our shop. Oh, hello again. So yeah, like I mentioned, so it's actually a whole story. I've got a subframe away at powder coat. I was told it'll be 1 week, and 5 weeks later, every time I call, it's gonna be 1 week more. So this is the chassis. It's lying here under a cover. But I came up last weekend and I was really fed up of getting nothing done on this thing. So I've went and I've pulled the engine out in a car park. Now, unfortunately, I didn't film it. A, because Drew didn't come up, so you need to blame him for that. And B, because I was just in a hurry. So this is where I pulled the engine on the GS. Got some plywood down there to try and make it roll, the engine crane roll over the stones. I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit of a nightmare, but I was absolutely tired of not getting anything done on this thing. So chassis sitting here now. I do have some work to do to the chassis. I've got to pull it in, a little bit of welding in the rear. I've moved the rear arches for better clearance to the wheels, so I'm going to cut and re-weld them. And I've got to mount an intercooler among other things, but right now we're going to focus on the engine, which I've rolled into the other shop. So let's go see my engine will stand. So yeah, that's you officially caught up. We are up to speed. Sorry for doing stuff off camera, but sometimes in the real world you just need to get shit done. So the engine's in there in a stand. Now, many of you are probably wondering why I've taken the engine out. I've seen a video of you test fitting the turbo and the manifold. It all goes in with the engine in the car. Well, there's a couple of reasons. It makes everything I'm doing a lot easier, but the main reason by far is there's an oil feed line that needs to be drilled into the upper oil pan. And you don't want to drill your oil pan on your engine because then you end up with swarf in your engine. So today's mission, get the oil pan off, get the oil feed line made because we got all the bits here, get apply this stuff test fed, work out things like power steering reservoir, inlet manifold, all that good stuff. So, as I mentioned, the upper oil pan being drilled is the main reason that this engine is on a stand right now instead of in the chassis out there. So right here you can see that Toyota have actually put the oil return in the casting even for the NA block, but the surface isn't machined, so I can't bolt a flange to it with a gasket as you would. So this is an AN6, I'm putting an AN10 in this. I've just grabbed this for a reference. So this is going to be welded down into the sump there, and for that reason I've got to pull the sump off, got to get cleaned up, get the hole drilled, so this sitting in, and I'm going to take it to be welded. Now I have started TIG welding, but I'm not confident enough to weld cast aluminium, which is pretty much like, that's the top level of skill there, and I'm nowhere near that. I'm just messing about. So I'm going to have somebody do that professionally for me. So now I'm going to flip the engine, get the upper oil pan off, and that is mission 1 for today. So this is the upper sump on a 2J. It's actually a really nice piece because it braces the block, but you can see here, as we talked about, this is where I'm going to have to drill, and I'm going to get a AN10 fitting welded on here. So let's put that to one side. That's that done. Now, the fuel system on the GS300 is a returnless system. The fuel pressure regulator is actually in the tank. So I'm going to swap this over to a return system, and I'm going to, for that reason, need a second fuel line, or a second fuel line off the fuel rail. So, do not believe everything you read on the internet. So, I've been a little bit misinformed. I've bought the parts, but I think I've got something that I can make work. So, for all of you who actually want to know, 2JZ GE VVTi out of the GS300, the oil pressure sensor screws into this big massive banjo bolt, which fits this assembly here, and then the factory water to oil cooler goes over the top. Now I want to eliminate this. I think I have to eliminate this by the time I stack filters and all. This then is doing not a whole lot, so I'd like to eliminate this too. So this is the bolt which bolts the oil filter house, the factory oil cooler to the oil filter housing. So what I think I'm going to do, now this O-ring is slightly too small, might need to do a wee bit of magic here, but I think I'm going to go sandwich plate directly on the block, and then we're going to put this bolt through here. Just need to grind a wee bit off it, but this I think is going to fit nicely in there. And then these two ports will be blocked, and these two ports will run to the oil cooler. Now the whole reason I want to do this is I'm vastly simplifying the system I had before. Before I had a sandwich plate which ran to an inline thermostat which ran to the cooler and a filter, a remote mount filter. So that's like what, 10, 12 AN lines, AN fittings that all can leak. AN fittings are pretty reliable, but you have to tighten them just right and all that stuff, and some of those were really difficult to tighten. So this way the thermostat is built into the sandwich plate, so it's going to circulate oil. I'm just going to put a filter on here, and when the oil is cold it's going to go through the filter back in the engine. When the oil is warm it is going to be circulated out to the oil cooler in the front bumper and then back in. So this is a massive simplification of what I had before. Like I say, it's just a matter of trying to make it all work. And now, because I have nowhere to put my oil pressure sensor, the plan was always to tee off the oil pressure sensor with this and then run the oil feed to the turbo out this little hole. But now I think what I'm going to do is very similar, throwing bolts at you, very similar to the hole in the center of this bolt, which is 1/8 NPT. So that would screw on there. I think I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to drill and tap the VVTIE oil pressure feed for this. So this is going to live right in here off the bolt, the banjo bolt for the VVTIE. Then we're going to have my oil pressure sensor here, and then the oil feed line will run up over the engine and to the turbo. So today I've spent a lot of time scratching my head and just figuring things out, and that's why building cars is sometimes you just gotta sit back, look at the problem, and yeah, find a solution. I don't know what else I want to achieve today, really. That was kind of it. Took a lot longer than I expected. I think what I'm going to do is organise all the parts I've taken off, because that's a bit of a mess and that needs to be done. And yeah, good job.